What's going on, guys? It's Jay, aka It's Ghost Story, back with another Phantom Parade showcase video, this time featuring the Rabbit Disruption, or as the community calls him, Rabbit Escape Megumi. Today is going to be a shorter showcase video, mainly because he's a pure debuffer unit, so the main showcase isn't exactly going to be like him clearing floors, it's going to be him showing how much easier floors can be cleared with some of the best DPSs in the game. The main ones featured off the top of my head, because this is an intro that's recorded after I've already done all the clears. So the main DPSs I use in this video is Max Output UG, Mahito, if you consider him the DPS. He also is used for debuffing on this video, and obviously Yuta. So let's just take a gander at Megumi's kit real quick, explain the main game plan that goes into him, and you can see me fiddle around, make some mistakes with the unit, but nonetheless, clear the floor. His main game plan: debuff, and just debuff unapologetically. The way this guy works is very simple. When turn starts, curse energy is no less than 30, totality doesn't exist, summons Divine Dog Totality. You are starting turns with 35 CE, you will always get this dog. It's just how it is. This dog is going to help you with your damage. However, the damage isn't necessary for this unit because, as I said, he's primarily a debuffer. So his skill 1 is just a basic melee attack. Nothing really too special about it. Obviously, there's the totality addition on it, but that's not the focus. The focus is the rest of the skills. So his skill 2 has 2 states. But we're going to look at the first state. So he debuffs not only physical technique damage taken, but he also does it for curse technique damage taken as well. Now, this is important because I haven't really explained this concept in my previous videos, but debuffs and buffs correlate with each other in different ways. And no two debuffs are the exact same unless presented in that way. So I'll show a very blatant example. So I had a comment under my Rabbit Escape Summon video that said, Mai is also on standard banner. Couldn't you just say that Mai could be used in his place? And I had to tell that person no, because Mai's debuff is a flat damage taken increase debuff. Now, the difference in that nature is that these two debuffs obviously have different symbols for the first place, and they're also calculated differently when you're applying overall DPS. Now, remember when I said that for the best damage possible in my previous videos, you would want this Megumi and this Mahito together on the same team? The reason that is the case is because, well, I can't show you this because Mahito, but let's just say his kit is rather broken. Mahito has a very similar kit format to Mai, where it is a flat damage decrease. Well, damage taken increase, basically debuff. It's a flat damage debuff where Megumi has the specific gen attribute and jujutsu and taijutsu cuts that are separate. Now, this is important because skills operate in a certain way. So when you take a unit where they have this type of skill with a unit of this type of skill, their debuffs actually multiply. But if you were to take a unit where their debuffs are 2 of the same kind, they only add. So that is why it is a very key distinction where you're saying if one unit can take another unit's spot. Because, for example, this Gojo also deals the flat debuff of Unlimited Void, right? You go back to Mai, also the same flat debuff of her curse technique in her ultimate. These two skills will only add to each other. But if you were to do her ultimate and Megumi's ultimate, they will multiply instead of add on. Which is why in that video I compared Megumi to Red Inumaki because that's his closest comparison, as they both debuff the exact same. Now, to continue on, after that little ramble, we have Rapid Escape because we can't go back to the other skills until we speak about Rapid Escape. So Rapid Escape isn't an attack. It's actually kind of like a change state. So not only does it debuff the enemies again for 29.40% if you have skill level 8, it also has a chance to apply disruption, and you will see disruption be applied in this video, I'm pretty sure. I believe during the Limit Tower floor 1 clear, it is applied. But when you pop this, not only does Megumi gain defense during fights, so if a boss were to attack this Megumi will block and will guard attacks before taking full health damage because of Rapid Escape, and then it turns his moves into a change state where his debuffs get exponentially bigger. And it also changes his skill 1, and it gives it the stop effect. Now, this video doesn't include the stop effect because I'm using a curse energy recollection bit throughout, I'm pretty sure, the entirety of this video on Megumi. So I'm very much going back and forth between these skills and then using ultimate when I get the chance. And by the time I use ultimate, I will also have enough curse energy to loop back these skills. And the ultimate is also ridiculous because it's a 96.18% debuff for 3 turns. That is a ridiculous size debuff for a unit that doesn't leave the battlefield. Because you also have characters like Gojo, who you can pop multiple unlimited voids, but the likelihood of you doing that from making a team that isn't built around spamming multiple unlimited voids is not likely. So Megumi's debuff is considerably the strongest that we have at the moment. So I will say, this guy, just off a kit alone, is a monster. And you will see as we go into the actual tower floors themselves and the SP30 fight that these multiplicative bonuses that Megumi receives from being combined with different type debuffers or different type buffers basically blow up units' damage numbers, even if they don't have their passes fully built up, or even if they're just spamming skill 1 for a really long time, then try and pop out a lot of damage. Especially if you've been watching my previous videos beforehand, you will see an exponential increase in terms of DPS. So enough babble. I will see you guys in the SP30 fight. Okay, so first fight is SP30 Toji. So for this floor, I tried to do a couple different strategies for the most part, but everything kind of led back to using our Kaido at the start of the fight. The main game plan was just try and get ultimate out as quickly as possible, basically before Toji ults. And the big issue was, obviously, if you're doing SP30, you're gonna have like that debuff to your ult gauge buildup, so you're gonna have some pretty strong difficulties. I tried to run Like-Minded Sisters on Mahito to get his ultimate to build up quicker, because out of all the units on this team, Mahito definitely had the most trouble. But for some reason, the crits just weren't coming out, so he wasn't building up ult at a steady pace. So I brought out the stereotypical ult gauge rec bit, and I just started basically hounding away and hoping that Toji would hit everybody semi-equally, so we would have enough ult gauge to dump ult, and also doing enough damage between Mai and Megumi with their skill 3 for Mai, skill 1 for Mai, and then obviously skill 2 for Megumi and skill 3 for Megumi, and obviously both of their ults will be combined together when necessary. And I also saved Rapid Escape specifically for this turn. However, on this run, the reason why I save it is because usually I'd be able to get Disruption on Toji, but this run specifically, which was my clear run for SP30, I did not get Disruption on Toji, which this turn is where he does the AoE, and he's able to stun on this turn. Usually he'd stun Yuji, which would be like the worst conclusion possible, but he didn't this time. Usually Megumi's not affected by this, because when I pop Rapid Escape on that turn, Megumi blocks the damage that Toji does incoming, so he is fine for the most part, which is why I believe this unit works pretty well at A0, just due to the sheer fact that defensively speaking, he does have a safety net before he starts taking real damage. It's shown pretty well here, and the damage is going to start picking up because obviously it is kind of like a race against time at this point, trying to basically break Toji before he pops his ultimate, because when he does pop his ultimate, there's quite literally, how do I say this, there's no chance for any of my units to live whatsoever, especially at SP30, where if he pops ult, everybody's basically dead. That's the best way I can put it. Get the debuff in with Rapid Escape, also cover Megumi up. And this was just like a Hail Mary. I have had previous SP30 runs where my Yuji just didn't do enough damage to break Toji, but thankfully this time he did. And then afterwards we are going to be throwing down Mai and Megumi's ult. And this is just gonna multiply together, giving Mahito a lot of damage to deal with, and also giving Yuji skill 3 more firepower as well. And skadoosh. Now, I would say for y'all, I mean, for running this stage, if you guys are the red Inumaki enjoyers, this floor is also relatively pretty simple to run with red Inumaki. He also kind of negates the stress, the ult charge stress. And that's a nice 8.5 million from Yuji on skill 3. That's just what happens when you multiply that damage, my boys. Maybe one day I'll make a video on like the game's damage formulas. I did have a conversation about that in my Discord before. Once you figure out how like the game's damage formula works, like almost any content is kind of a cakewalk for the most part. And 8.9 million from Yuji, you ain't getting that from too many other characters, you know? Because first you need the goated, listen, first you need the goated DPS, but the goated DPS ain't nothing without their goated supports or debuffers, and Megumi's just that guy. But thankfully, Yuji tees up, and we got the 10-turn SP30 clear. Could have been quicker, but I'm not an RNG demon. But that was SP30. I'm going to see you guys on the next floor, which is Limited Tower Floor 1, where we bully Mahito. Just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. You guys know we like bullying the Limited Tower floors here. Easy content. Little reward dump right there. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. Continuing on with the next fight. So, let's see. About this fight, it's very similar in format to the SP team. By similar format, I mean basically just the same debuff cycle, I guess you would say, with Yuji being included as the main DPS. But not only that, we also have the buff duo of Yaga and Nanami. Now, this is going to make for a very, very unique, very heavy-hitting team-up. Because the thing that makes this team-up work very well is that it is 3 different types of buff/debuffs operating together at the exact same time. So, Yaga's debuff, Yaga's buff, Megumi's debuff, and Nanami's buff all multiply across all 3 of them because all 3 of them perform separate buff/debuffs. So Yaga has the Taijutsu and Jujutsu up as his buff. That is a separate section. And it's actually one of the more rare buff styles in the game. The only other units in the game that has it are both of the Shoko units that are in the game, Green Shoko and Yellow Shoko. Megumi has the debuff Jujutsu and Taijutsu, which is also a separate category in the debuff section. And then Nanami has the flat stat up for his buffs. So it is 3 different styles of buffs being multiplied across each other, and just Yuji is just here to soak up that damage. And I didn't get a combo ult with Yuji because Curse Energy just didn't build up all too well, mainly because Yuji didn't hit that many black flashes, and I attribute that to not using Mahito. But I wanted to use, you know, the 3 different buff/debuff styles on the same team so I can show y'all that this man hits like a nuclear bomb when you have him together with some very strong units. And I was kind of nervous at first. I mean, you saw that skill 1. That was 4.3 million on a skill 1. Didn't even Black Flash either. But a lot of things going on in the damage department. This floor got cleared very quickly. We're getting the buffs in with Yaga. We're also getting the ultimates in with Nanami and and the debuff with Megumi. These last for 3/4 turns. And then I'm not going to ult with Yaga during the main damage rotation because Yaga's buff has a higher value for the damage calculation than his ultimate. But we'll be getting Yuji's ult on this upcoming turn, and he doesn't have his full passive, but you're going to see we don't really need his full passive to wrap up this floor very quickly. Buff, debuff, another buff, and then thermonuclear Yuji incoming. 41.8 million with no combo ult. You'll love to see it. And then I was also hoping I could have finished this floor on this turn, but sadly we did not get that here. No, actually no, we did, huh? Oh, I'm not gonna lie guys, as I'm pre-recording this, I low-key forgot. The endings to this floor and 5 are different. So I'm gonna see you guys on Limited Tower Floor 5, where the actual thing happens. So this is the floor that I'm gonna remember properly for the most part. So I kinda misremembered doing these floors. So this is the floor where it took like an extra turn than usual to clear, but this is going to be basically the exact same format, but the intro format is going to be 2 flats. So the debuff that Gojo applies from his ultimate and the buffs that Nanami produces from his skill 2, skill 3, and his ultimate, they are going to add, they don't multiply, they are a part of the same category. Megumi's skills will obviously multiply those buffs. Afterwards, Yaga will come in, and then we'll have the same buff, debuff rotation going as from the previous floor. And I also kind of just want to show y'all like the bigger numbers Yuta can hit in his, I guess, his ideal circumstances. Even though he doesn't combo ult on this floor, and this recollection bit I'm using is only a 60% increase to curse techniques. So it's definitely not like the absolute pinnacle of damage he can hit, but it's kind of just like a, like if I could have brought this team to floor 86, oh yeah, the floor would have been body slammed so easily. Even easier than what I already did. So for the people that are watching and already know that I cleared floor 86, obviously the team I used on floor 86 is different than this because you can't use buff units on floor 86. So since this is quite literally the floor 86 boss on the Limited Tower Floor 5 fight, I'm like, you know what, it would be pretty fun if I just take this fight, save the actual floor 86 run for a future date, and kind of just freestyle dunk on this boss's head with the buffers, the ideal damage rotation. And I'm kind of just spamming skill 1 with Yuta right now. I'm spamming skill 1 with Yuta so we have a lot of curse energy, and then that surplus of curse energy is going to assist us later, so we could just continuously spam skill 3 and like basically whittle down the boss's health bar the moment the ult comes out. And we're going to be ulting here. Now the first ult that Yuta produces isn't even going to be the strongest ult during this run. The ult gets stronger later, not by a massive degree, but it is strong. And I also brought a healing wreck bit. I probably could have brought a different one for more damage, but my luck for some floors when in terms of like just taking damage is not that great, especially this floor. For some reason, whenever I fight this boss, he hard targets Yuta so hard, and obviously, as most of you guys know, Yuta can't heal himself, he can only heal his teammates. So if Yuta's on death's door, that doesn't really help. And despite the fact that this recollection that I'm using gives him resurrection status, he'll only get like 14,000 health back. So that still didn't make me all too comfortable for the most part. And I'm using this recollection bit mainly for when his health gets low enough and he gets that ult charge back, but also the fact that this is kind of just that's like the version of Yuta I'm most comfortable using because that's what I use for 86. So now we're just kind of laying down the damage. We're kind of just waiting for Gojo to leave. Because now Gojo has served his purpose, therefore I do not need him anymore. So I actually just want him to get out of here, get Yaga out, get the ideal damage rotations rolling in, and just keep chipping at the boss's health bar. I mean, now Yuta's obviously hitting hard, but you guys will see that Yuta will begin to hit even harder the moment Yaga comes onto the field. I didn't even bother going into the skill 1 to preserve curse energy. We want the damage and we need the damage now. Break damage increase, 3.7 million, and obviously with Yaga's buffs lasting for 4 turns if I remember off the top of my head, 4 or 3, off the top of my head, you're going to see a great escalation in damage numbers very, very soon. On this turn, I'm pretty sure I used Megumi skill 1 instead of ulting because I wanted to wait for the Nanami team up. Even though that kind of turns this into a, in quotation marks, the dead turn, the damage difference isn't too significant. But the damage change that Yuta gets when they both whip out their ultimates, that is also just another story. So we're going to see what they produce right here. And I also did the ultimate, I guess you could say on the tad bit earlier side, because I was just betting on the fact that Yuta would most likely get his ultimate before the 3 turns run out for Megumi's debuff. Sometimes you just gotta bet on yourself, man. Sometimes you gotta bet 5.9 million on the skill 3. And the boss then takes that damage cut, that disgusting damage cut. And now we're just stacking up curse energy on all the debuff units. We're getting the skill 3 out on Nanami. Break damage and the buff, I believe, for 4 turns. We're also just covering up Megumi with a key rapid escape. And then honestly, this is what I was referencing on the previous tower clear. I really thought that this was actually going to finish the boss, like, right here. But it didn't. We still had a pretty decent number, but I really thought that the floor was going to end at this very moment. A crisp 27 million for the culture. Took a gander at it. And then right here, I also thought it was going to end right here, but it didn't. It didn't. For some reason, the fight kept going. But I ended the fight very fashionably. We ended the fight using Yaga ultimate. We got the full animation and everything. Beautiful. And yeah, that was the limited tower floor 5 with Yuta. We're going to transition over to floor 72, which is going to be the final floor, and then we're going to do the little final review on the unit. So I will see you guys on 72. Okay guys, we're back on floor 72. We're going to be prioritizing the debuffing floor. Floor 72 is obviously the floor that you can't really be using buffers on. You got to prioritize debuffers. So on this floor, I am using Gojo, Megumi, Mahito, and Yuji. We're not going to have too many multiplicative buffs because we have 2 flat buffers, and then we have, I would say, I feel like if I would have to give them my own type of nickname, I would say dynamic debuffer, which is a Megumi. And the point of this floor, I tried to beat it as fast as possible, but Inumaki was just kind of straight eating those hits from the boss. And that kind of irked me a little bit because the main game plan was to kind of combine Gojo and Megumi, and then just have Yuji blast out like a mega nuke. Mahito was kind of like I wouldn't say like an inconsequential addition, but I would say he wasn't really the important part of this plan. He was just kind of like, you know, if I had to choose between picking Mai or Mahito for the showcase, I mean, I'm gonna pick Mahito, of course. So Inumaki gets taken out due to poison, thankfully, because he kind of overstood his welcome. And we're gonna get Infinite Void, Unlimited Void, whatever you would like to call it, on the field. But we'll have to wait for Megumi's ultimate. And because this floor is very painfully annoying, on turn 6, the boss takes a damage cut, so we aren't able to wrap up this floor very early because the alt gauge buildup just wasn't in the cards. But now we get the 99% rolling in. Beautiful. No ultimate for the boss. My favorite part about this is because the debuffs are just piling on, this boss turns into a punching bag very quickly. 4 million with no Black Flash. And then the boss is going to take that total damage cut. So we wait. We hold our damage for a turn. We still apply those debuffs, but we're not popping on the ultimates. So now you're applying Megumi's ultimate because it's going to last for 3 turns. And I'm also checking for like Gojo's debuff right here. Basically just checking for all these said debuffs that are applied. And then I go into skill 3 because I know Mahito is going to get ultimate on this next turn. And Megumi's debuff lasts for 3 turns. So Mahito's going to pop Black Flash and we're going to be able to get Mahito's ultimate because we're not going to stall for another turn. See what Yuji does. 5.4 with no Black Flash, by the way. Debuff again with Megumi. Wreck bit with Yuji and Mahito. And I mean, y'all will see the number. It's a very calm number. It's nothing too crazy. But then again, this boss does not have a ton of health. And Yuji blasts him away. Damn. And this floor was done very, very easily. Very, very easily. But that was the little... Alright guys, this is Live J back. I'm going to take you guys final review for this unit. He's a beastly addition Megumi to Phantom Parade Global. You can see if you want to sign for one that I'm glad I didn't skip. I mean, don't get me wrong. He does have his standard banner replacement. Now, if you guys have been following the channel, or if you have been following late game tower content, you guys will know that Red Inumaki has been seeing more prevalent usage. Not only has he been seeing more prevalent usage, he has been considered the free-to-play friendly replacement at the moment for Rapid Escape Megumi. Considering the fact that their debuffs are very similar, he also charges ult gauge for his teammates as well. His debuff may be inferior overall, but if you have Mahito, this unit will work for you wholeheartedly. Now, I have had people speak to me before, and they're like, oh, why are you summoning for Rapid Escape Megumi if Red Inumaki can just do the exact same thing? Why aren't you using Red Inumaki? And truth be told, I don't have Red Inumaki. Another thing, people are like, why don't you use the paid ticket for Red Inumaki? I already did use the red ticket. I mean, not the red ticket, the paid ticket. And I used it for, where is he? I know he's on here. Am I blind? Yes, I used it for Yellow Kaido because I was initially planning on using Yellow Kaido for my floor 90 run. I was thinking way ahead. And for the, oh, why don't you just keep pulling on Standard Banner until you get him? I went 500 plus Standard Banner pulls and I have not gotten this unit. I'd rather just sacrifice the cubes, get it out of the way, and continue forward. Because if you guys have been following my YouTube post, I have already beaten floor 86. And those videos will come out later, and I've been kind of just steamrolling through tower content, but I had to go back and stop doing tower, make this showcase video, and also kind of make space for the other videos I've already had pre-made, as I've been making this video on my technical vacation. So hopefully you guys enjoy this unit. He is a solid unit. should you summon for him? I'm leaning towards, for you free-to-play players, no. If you can acquire Red Inumaki, he fulfills a similar role to him already. This guy will come to Standard Banner in the future. So most likely the next Standard Banner update or he will be there. Okay? He will be there. Red Inu's already in Standard Banner. He fulfills the similar role that this unit does. Go with the more free-to-play friendly route for you free-to-play guys. For the whales, again, why not? I know as a whale, I sometimes skip units that I don't really care for, but this is the guy that I feel like you should pick up if you can pick him up. Him being combined with Mahito and then combining that with either Yuta or Yuji, it breaks any red fight in half that debuffs are allowed in. So that's my overall review. If you're free to play and you have Mahito, just stick with Inumaki. If you're a whale, pick this guy up. If you're a little bit in between and you're like me, and you might be a light spender, or you might have a lot of cubes left over because you got really lucky during anniversary, you don't have Red Inu and you're very impatient like I was, go for it, I guess. But all in all, I feel like the average person, aka like the other 99.9% of the game, because the people that are in the content I'm in are in the 0.1%, the 99.9% of y'all that aren't in this respective content probably won't benefit much from him. I would just tell y'all to go back to the gacha space and be like, okay, weigh out your options. Out of the 3 units that are on featured at the moment, just go for Mahito. But yeah, guys, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Go to the YouTube channel bio. The Discord is there if you guys want to have a conversation. A little bit more personal conversation. Talk to me in the comments. Have you guys summoned for MEGUMI? Have you been enjoying your time using him? Have you been utilizing the multipliers on the buffs and debuffs by messing around with team formations and synergies? Have y'all cleared floor 86 for the people that are in that upper range of content because you were able to secure Rapid Escape MEGUMI? Whole bunch of cool stuff. But that's enough for me, guys. This has been Jay, aka It's Ghost Story. This is Rapid Escape MEGUMI, and I will see you guys later.